And welcome back to the Cisco TV studio, coming to you live in real time from the RAI here in Amsterdam. I'm Steve Moulter, so good to have you with us. We've just come out of our keynote deep dive on observability, all of the different ways that Cisco is unlocking digital resilience through unified observability. In just a moment, I'm going to have Manfred and Richard from Angle with me right here in the studio. We'll do an exclusive behind-the-scenes follow-up interview on the future of digital resilience with Splunk Observability, enhanced by App Dynamics. Definitely stay with us for that moment. We just heard some powerful data from top analysts, along with a great customer success story. I am going to ask Richard and Manfred to go into detail on them as the success story. Remember, keep connecting with us on your social media platform of choice. Just make sure that you keep tagging us as well. Hashtag Cisco Live EMEA at Cisco Live EMEA, whichever one you prefer. That way we know that you're out there. We know what you're experiencing here on the live stream, and our social media team can comment back and continue that conversation with all of you. All right, before we get to that interview with our last center stage hosts, we are going to throw it out to the AI Hub, where my buddy Rob is hanging out with a special friend. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, I'm making new friends here, actually, as we learn more about really some of the details about what we heard in the keynote. Jeff, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I always panic right at the last second. We were just talking about this. So, Jeff, you're with Splunk.
Yes.
Cisco, however we do that these days. But either way, you guys were talking new AI assistants for observability, I believe.
Yes.
Tell us what was announced at the keynote and how are you guys making it real, showing us how it works here?
Well, as you can imagine, thanks to ChatGPT, generative AI has taken the world by storm, right?
Yes,
so a lot of different companies are working to build AI assistants and leverage generative AI within their applications, and we're doing that as well. So within our Splunk Observability Cloud product, we're actually leveraging generative AI in order to help analysts accelerate those incident investigation workflows.
And so obviously when we think of generative, it's generating things. That's really what the big difference is in terms of this technology versus anything we've ever dealt with in the past. But you guys are feeding it source data that's very valuable and very broad, I would think, too. Is it solving a problem or solving things that were difficult to do before, or is it now enabling you to do things you couldn't do or couldn't do easily before?
I'd say the best way I would think about it is really as an accelerator to take some of those things that took the analyst a little more time to do and to do them more quickly and effectively. That's really the value that the assistant's providing. We want to keep that human in the loop, but just pour gasoline on their ability to do their job better, faster.
I know you're doing demonstrations, and we may or may not have time to get into one here, but just verbally, walking me through a use case or kind of how did it used to be versus how is it working now?
Yeah, so let's assume that you're an analyst and you're trying to troubleshoot an issue that's going on with an application. What they would historically do is they're going to go click through a bunch of different screens, right? And they're going to look at a lot of different information, and they're going to try to formulate an answer as to what's causing that incident, right? Yeah. But now what they can do is they can actually ask the AI assistant, hey, it looks like there's a problem happening in my payment service. What's going on? The AI assistant is actually going to go out and do that work for the analyst. It's going to look at the metric data, look at the trace data, look at the log data, and put all that together and formulate a thesis about why that incident is happening. So it's really streamlining that incident investigation process.
It's not writing a regex expression to try and tease something out. Is this the all natural language, however I happen to word it based on my mood that day, how I'm perceiving the problem at hand? Can you be as loose as it feels like you can sometimes be in these situations? Or how good do you need to be at even writing that prompt?
Well, actually, so what's really cool about this particular assistant, and quite frankly, pretty impressive, is that it's an agentic, it's leveraging agentic AI.
Okay, so it's going to take action as well.
Yeah, so I know that a lot of people who are listening, maybe some have heard about what agentic AI is, and maybe a lot of other people don't.
Explain it, just in case.
Yeah, so what's going to happen is when that analyst enters a prompt, before we try to provide an answer back, we're actually going to run that prompt through an LLM that performs an orchestration step, okay? And so what that's going to do is it's going to take the user's prompt, establish what their intent is, and then create a workflow set of steps where they're actually going to be, each one of those steps is going to call out to different skills in order to perform a holistic workflow-based action before it provides
So this
the
is like
response
multiple
back.
loops coming in. This is some of the rethinking models, or I forget the terminology we use for those things.
Absolutely.
But I like that. Are we exposing that interaction to the user so they know what's happening?
As of right now, we're keeping that hidden behind the scenes. So
I see value in both.
yeah. So there's really, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can ask, because it's going to figure out how to best interrogate the right data based on the question that you had in order to provide the most appropriate answer.
What type of reaction are you getting from people as you're demonstrating this here in the booth? We had to kind of shoo some people away from you to get access to you, and I appreciate you taking the time. But yeah, what are people asking, and what's kind of their reaction to it?
So obviously everybody's excited, and I think what they're most excited about, as I said at the beginning, is just how they see that this is really going to be able to accelerate their investigations. We're hearing from some of our customers that something that used to take 40 or 45 minutes can actually be shortened down to just a few minutes.
And I would assume that also applies maybe to the ramp curve of, sometimes we roll stuff out and there's it's incumbent upon a lot of us to do an educational effort to how do I take advantage of these things and do it right, and what are the best practices, and a bunch of different hair on an announcement. It could be really cool, but it may require some level of intelligence and knowledge, to actually execute on it. It sounds like this is something that you could probably ramp into quickly and begin seeing results immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, let's be honest. We're still at the beginning of this generative AI journey, and I think there's a lot left to come. But our guiding principle is to leverage AI to make sure that everybody can become a security or observability expert.
I love the sound of that, and that's a great one to end on. Jeff, thank you so much. Appreciate
you.
your time. We are in the AI Hub. I don't know if it's considered the back or the front or whatever, but look for Splunk and look for Jeff, but look for any of this team here. There's a lot of good people to learn from. I encourage you to get over here. But with that, I'll throw it back over to the studio and Steve.
Thank you so much, my friend. I so appreciate it. And thanks to Jeff as well. Great oversight, great information there, as always. And we appreciate you being our eyes and ears out there on the World of Solutions show floor. Looking at my clock, we got about 26 minutes until we head into the next center stage session. Before we do that, though, we're going to go back to our prior center stage session that wrapped not so long ago. And as promised, I have got Manfred and Richard here with me from Angle. Welcome, gentlemen. I am so glad that both of you guys are here with us in studio to talk about your center stage session that just wrapped up. Welcome. How are you feeling about everything?
Everything's feeling great. Thank you.
Okay, glad to hear it. All right, so before we dive into any deeper questions, I want to begin just by talking a little bit about Angle in general. There might have been some folks here on the broadcast who didn't watch the entire session. Tell us a little bit about Angle, tell us a bit about the background, and then we'll get into the relationship with Splunk and with Cisco.
Okay, so the world of Angle is the world of injection molding. Angle is one of the leading injection molding machine manufacturers, and we are providing solutions for our customers' plastics applications. We are operating worldwide, we have production sites worldwide, and we have something like 7,000 employees.
And where are you based? Where's home?
The home base is in Austria.
And then you've got all over Europe, the rest of the world as well.
We are all over Europe. We have production sites in Asia and production sites in Mexico, and we have a lot of sales reps and sales offices all over the world, and also the training centers to train the people for our injection molding machines.
Fantastic. So one of the reasons that I like to know where people are is when we talk about controlling our organizations, supporting our people, empowering them, this is not localized. We get businesses watching of all sizes. Some are global, some are local to specific areas. We talk about, okay, here in the Netherlands, what do you need to do to protect or to be able to lift your people up or allow them to do what they need to do? When we've got an organization scattered across multiple countries, protocols matter, right? So in your session, I was listening in on the session, and you talked about digital resilience in the KDD, right? So give us a background on some of the challenges that Angle was facing as you made that move to start to standardize on Splunk and use Splunk specifically for your own observability needs across your different locations. Whoever wants to leap in on it.
Well, We started with Splunk. We had a lot of different teams that use different data sources and different logging tools and monitoring tools. And then we also had the differentiation between the internal IT and between the custom IT. So there was no much communication between them. Yeah? Then we made the organizational change to build the teams together, to bring the teams together, to bring it into a platform team. And we wanted to get more out of the power of the platform. And this was the time when we saw everybody's working with different tools, and we said, hey, this is our first challenge. We have to bring them all together. We have to bring them the insights they need in order to be more effective with problem solving.
And how about Richard? Let me ask you the same question. We'll just bring it in from your perspective as well.
I would like to more talk about the opportunities we have now.
Yeah, great.
Because we have, I would say we have less screenshots. We have the possibility to get the trace ID from customer support and give the trace ID through the developer, through the infrastructure people, to everybody who's technical then, and dig more into the details and do that very quick, because we have more communication and easier communication, I would say.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm going to stay with you, Richard, for a moment. Our businesses rely on technology more than they ever have before, and things are rapidly moving. How do you think Splunk has helped you to reduce friction at this particular point, bringing your technology, your business teams together, allowing you to cooperate? Again, I want both of your perspectives, since you come at this from two different sides. Manfred, we'll start with you, and then Richard, let's have you answer that same question.
Well, by having all the data from the network layer, the database layer, the server layer, up to the application layer, we could make the business, our IT, more visible. We could start with more visibility that we could give them, and this is where we want to be more a service level organization, and we have our applications driven with service owners, and the service owners have been equipped with all the information, or we will equip them with the information they need to run their services effectively.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Richard?
Well, I would say the communication, as I said before, and the data we have now collected, it's easier, because if you imagine before, we had a lot of servers where the log files laying around, and to get that, it's pretty time consuming. Now we have it in one place. We can as well use them then for the security guys, for the management, to get some KPIs for that. So it's better to have it at one place that everybody can use it. It makes it really much easier.
Centralized. So important. Richard, if you look at this from the developer side specifically, how are you working with Manfred and with the operations team, thanks to having that centralization, that improved access to data, that more consistent access to data that you need?
Yeah, well, I think like the Open Terminology standard is very useful as well for us both, because we are not that annoying to his people and say, oh, we need a new route or new port or whatever. And they get as well less screenshots from us meanwhile, because we have the same database to work on. Yeah.
Indeed. All right, you talked about your digital resilience journey while you were out in the presentation using Splunk. Engel is also a longtime Cisco customer as well, right? Why? Why Cisco? What have you gotten out of that Cisco relationship that is powerful for you?
Well, you celebrate 40 years, and I saw the picture on the keynote yesterday where you had the AGS Plus. And this was indeed the very first router we had in place at Engel.
Love that. Okay.
So we are Cisco customer from the very first hour, I would say. Engel is celebrating 80 years, but the recent 40 years we also had the journey together with Cisco. We started in the networking area with all the switches and the routers, and then we also made the move to the server environment. We have now the Cisco Blade infrastructure. We also run a FlexBot, to drive our business and collaborate all our legacy IT application on this shared infrastructure. And it continues with the Cisco security topics like the firewalls, like the IAC, like the ASAs, and also with the cloud topics that Cisco also offers actually.
I just love that. I really do. We sort of drink that all in. Again, I love to talk about how nothing here in Cisco happens in a vacuum, that everything relies on this relationship with our fantastic partners and customers because you help us be better. It's just that simple. Or maybe I should say you help us serve you in the way you need to be served. So I love that, like you said, it's been from 0 hour. I want to look ahead just a little bit. The next time we hear from Angle, the next time we hear from both of you, what will we be talking about in terms of the drivers, the Splunk support, the data access that we've been hearing about here at the show this year? Where do you see us being, let's call it six months down the line from now?
Well, improved our data we get there, improved our alerts, improved maybe use the AI inside the observability cloud meanwhile then. Get more out of the data and yeah, even more collaboration, I would say.
Even more. We go beyond, maybe? I've heard that theme somewhere before. Maybe that's what we do with Angle. I am so grateful that both of you had a little bit of extra time here in the day to join us here in the studio. Manfred, Richard, Angle, thank you so much for your, again, your partnership, working with us, all these great ways that you are using Splunk to improve your digital resilience. Great story. Great to have you here in the studio. Thank you both.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You know that Cisco is your bridge to possible. We're going to take a very quick 1-minute break to learn exactly how and why. Do not go away. We are going to be right back here with you in the studio in Amsterdam in just about 71 seconds. Away we go.